significant issue in higher education today is that many first-year students struggle with confidence and a sense of belonging during their years in college. Many experience impostor syndrome, hesitation to speak up in a class, discomfort challenging authority figures, and uncertainty about their academic abilities. Transition to college requires students to go from a structured environment into a separate space that requires more independence and self-direction. These experiences can negatively impact retention, engagement, leadership involvement, and well-being. Before college, many women students have been socialized to prioritize pleasing others, avoiding conflict, or doubting their own expertise. As a result, they heavily rely on peers or professors for validation, rather than simply trusting themselves. Research shows that sense of belonging is strongly connected to student persistence and success. Students who feel connected to peers, faculty, and campus are more likely to remain enrolled and academically succeed. Mentorship and a collaborative learning environment have positive effects on women's intellectual and personal development. Belenke found that validation, connection, and opportunities for voice development are critical to women's growth as knowers. The solution? An 8-week semester program called Finding Your Voice, First-Year Women's Leadership and Belonging Program. This program is designed for a mid-sized public university of around 25,000 total undergraduate students. The campus will include commuter and local students, a diverse student population, and a large first-generation presence. The university should seek to improve first-year retention, student engagement, and overall leadership development. The population for this program is first-year undergraduate women students, specifically first-generation students, women of color, commuters, students with low confidence, low self-esteem, and students hesitant to ask for help. Most students will be around ages 17 to 19 and in their first semester at the university. Women's Ways of Knowing theory explores how women develop voice, identity, and ways of knowing. Rather than rigid stages, the authors describe 5 perspectives. First is silence. Women feel voiceless, powerless, and dependent on authority. Example, a student never speaks up in class because she believes her opinion just doesn't matter. She only does what the teacher says and never questions it. Stage 2, received knowledge. Knowledge comes from external authorities. Students memorize and repeat information. An example, a student memorizes everything that the professor says and writes it word for word in her notes. She doesn't question whether it's true. If the teacher said it, it must be right. 3. Subjective knowledge. Truth is internal. Students begin trusting their very own intuition and voice. An example, after a bad experience with an authority figure, a student stops trusting others' opinions and starts going with their own gut. She thinks, I know what's right for me, regardless of what anyone else says. 4. Procedural knowledge. Students learn methods for evaluating knowledge. Separate knowing is where students learn logic, debate, and critical analysis. Example, a student debates both sides of the death penalty in her class, using facts and logic, even if it goes against her very own beliefs. Connected knowing, empathy, and understanding others' perspectives. Example, a student tries to understand why her classmate holds a different political view by listening to their personal story instead of arguing against them. 5. Constructed knowledge. Students learn to balance their own thoughts and feelings with information from the outside world. What we know is shaped by our experiences and the people around us. Example, a nursing student uses her textbook knowledge and her personal experience caring for one of her sick family members to form her very own opinion on patient care. She realizes that the right answer depends on the situation and the people involved. From the lens of women's ways of knowing theory, many first-year women usually land in either received knowing or subjective knowing. I believe this theory best suits the issue because it involves women students' confidence and belonging. The program aims to help participants move from depending on authority toward collaboration and leadership. This theory also values learning through relationships, having mentors, and teachers who are connected with their students, which are all important in student affairs. Now let's get to the program. It will be an 8-week semester-long program held bi-weekly with 2-hour sessions. Purpose is to support first-year women students in developing confidence, belonging, leadership identity, and an academic voice. This program will also have various sponsors, including a first-year experience or first-generation office, resident life, any current leadership programs, counseling center, and a Women's Center. Facilitator for these programs include the Women's Center professional staff, graduate assistants within student affairs, and upper class women student peer mentors. Now let's talk a little about the sessions within the program. The first session will be focused on building community and belonging. We will do introductions, identity mapping, and going over transition stories to college. This will create connection and reduce any awkward silence. Session 2 is titled, Whose Voice Should I Trust? The activities during this session will include a discussion on authority figures, a reflection on self-doubt, and a journaling or craft exercise. This will move students from received knowledge to subjective knowing. Session 3, Speaking Up in Academic Spaces. Activities for this session include a role-playing asking questions in class, emailing professors an introduction, and an office hours practice. This will build their voice and confidence within themselves. Session 4 is called Impostor Syndrome. Activities include a discussion about myths about success, reframing negative thoughts discussion, and peer group affirmations. This will validate women's internal experiences. Session 5 is a little different. It will be a mentorship lunch and or dinner. This is where the students of the program will meet women faculty or staff members. This is to show teachers as midwife, helping students develop their own ideas. Session 6, Connected Leadership. The activities include a discussion over collaborative leadership styles, an empathy-based leadership discussion, and a conflict resolution workshop. This session is to establish their connected knowing. Session 7, Campus Change Project. This is where the program will be divided into teams to identify an issue affecting women students and propose their own solutions. Some examples include women in STEM support, having safer transportation, or some wellness initiatives. This is to show their constructed knowledge through their own action. Lastly, Session 8, Reflection and a Celebration. Activities for this session are having growth reflections with one another, celebrating any leadership commitments, and a certificate ceremony for everyone in the program. Resources and handouts that are needed include meeting rooms, journals and craft supplies, a food budget, marketing materials, and a mentor recruitment. Now let's go over the different types of handouts that we will need through this program. Handout 1 is titled Campus Resource Guide for Women's Studies. This will be for Session 1. It will include a map and small information bullet points about the Women's Center, counseling services, tutoring and academic support, any identity-based orgs, and emergency/support resources. At the start, students may feel uncertain or disconnected, so providing resources early builds security and support, which is necessary before students can develop their voice. Handout 2, Ways of Knowing Reflection Scale. This is for Session 2. This will include short descriptions of silence, received knowledge, subjective knowledge, procedural knowledge, and constructed knowledge. Following the Women's Ways of Knowing theory description will be self-assessment questions like, do I usually rely on others to tell me what's right? Do I trust my own opinions? Do I challenge ideas or just accept them? This session is about awareness, so students need language to understand how they think. Handout 3, Self-Advocacy Email Templates. This will include a sample email for asking professor questions, requesting any help, and clarifying assignments. We'll include a few sentence starters. I wanted to follow up on, I'm having trouble understanding. Students often know that they should advocate for themselves, but do not know how. Handout 4, Confidence Journal Prompts. Prompts like, describe a time you doubted yourself but succeeded. What strengths do you bring to college? When do you feel most confident speaking? And where do you silence yourself? These prompts will be displayed for students to write in their journals. This session focuses on internal voice and self-trust. The Finding Your Voice program is designed to help first-year women students who may struggle with confidence, speaking up, and feeling like they belong in college. Many students come into college unsure of themselves and rely on others, like professors or peers, to tell them what is right. This can make it harder for them to participate, ask for help, or see themselves as leaders. The program uses women's ways of knowing to guide students in building their confidence and learning to trust their very own voice. Group discussions, workshops, mentorship, and activities, students are able to reflect on their experiences, connect with others, and practice speaking up in different situations. Overall, the program helps students feel more confident, supported, and connected. It gives them the tools to speak up for themselves, trust their ideas, and get more involved on campus. By doing this, the program helps first-year women students succeed both academically and personally.